If you've been stuck watching tutorials, this video will save you months of wasted time. Because I was exactly like you a few years ago. Fast forward to today, I've released 2 games completely by myself, and today I'll show you how I do it again, but 10 times faster. So first, let me tell you, when I got started in game development, I fell for this very common trap in game dev that we call tutorial hell. And tutorial hell, that's basically where we watch so many tutorials that we don't learn. Like you probably think now, well, isn't tutorials good? Isn't tutorials like the best way to learn? But you can imagine when you had maths in school, or if you go to school, you can imagine you have math. You can imagine what would happen if you only listen to the teacher. You would never solve your problems, you would never take notes, you would never do any of these active things. The only thing you would do is listen to the teacher. Like, listen to the teacher and like do what the teacher told you. You wouldn't think for yourself, you wouldn't do any of these active things, like taking notes, solving problems, like thinking, so on and so on. You can imagine how that would turn out. Would you learn a lot, or would you basically forget everything within a few hours? Well, you would forget everything within a few hours. Because when you only do these passive and easy things like listening to another person talk, or just do the steps that they tell you to, then you aren't going to remember it as well as if you actually did the thing yourself, if you actually found out the solution yourself. And that's the mistake I made when I got started. I did so much passive learning. I only listened to the teacher basically, because I only watched tutorials. I didn't build an experiment for myself. I didn't even take notes when I watched a video. Didn't research the things when I watched a video. I didn't research the things, like actively be curious, all these things. And that's why I never learned. I never learned game development. I could watch a 5-hour tutorial on how to make Minecraft, for example, whatever, where they would go into like advanced concepts. Like, sure, I'd follow along and I'd like roughly know the concepts and I wouldn't be like completely lost. But since they told me like step by step what to do, I was never able to actually transfer that knowledge from like the tutorial and the video I watched actually into my own projects. I'm not going to watch these tutorials forever. That's not going to be my work. My work is going to be creating things myself, building things myself, using my own brain. There's not going to be anyone that tells me step by step what to do at all times. Even AI can't do that for me. So what's the point of watching tutorials if you're not going to be able to apply that to your own projects? When I say that, it just sounds stupid. Like, imagine getting an A on your test, but the only thing you did was listen to the teacher. You didn't solve any problems. Obviously, you're not going to get that. Tutorials, it just feels more productive than they actually are. And that's basically passive learning in general. Passive learning feels more productive than they actually are. This has also been researched, that active learning is more effective than passive learning. That means like taking notes, building your own projects, solving your own problems, like basically solving math problems. That has been actually researched, like in a lab. Some nerd has like researched this and found out that active learning is more effective. But the students, this is really interesting, the students think that they learned more when they did passive learning, when they listened to the teacher. But it's actually the opposite in reality. There was a test done that asked students for their perceived productivity, and the perceived productivity was higher during passive learning. They think they learn more on passive learning. But then they did a test on the subject that they studied, and the students that did more active learning got a higher grade on that test. They had higher performance, even though they said that they think they learn less. Like, the perceived productivity or like learning was even less than the passive learning group. So that's very, very interesting. And we can apply that to game development as well. And all of this learning research, like about passive learning and active learning and like the right way to learn, that's the foundation for everything inside of Smart Indie. Inside of Smart Indie, we preach active learning over passive learning, which also leads me to my next point, which is what most beginners, they do wrong. And that's that they don't rush to build as quickly as possible. Your goal must be to experiment with things as fast as possible. You should rush to like solve your problems. You should rush to like be done with the class and just do your homework and solve the math problems that the teacher assigned to you. That's what you should rush for. That's what your goal should be. Goal should be to just build and experiment with as many things as possible without using tutorials, without using AI. Basically just using Google for like implementations and small things that you don't know about. But actually solving hard problems. You should rush for that. That should be your main priority right now. Get done with the introductions, learn what the variable function is, learn what a transform is, learn how to change the position, do all the basic things. Rush to do that as quickly as possible, get concept overviews of the most basic things. Then just rush to build. So important. Seriously. Like a lot of beginners in game development, they just forget about like the very basics of learning. They just forget that to learn something, we need to do the thing itself. Like, if you want to get good at painting, then you obviously paint. You don't study painting. You paint. If you want to make good meals, you want to become a good cook or chef, obviously you improve by making meals. You cook. If you want to become a good mathematician, obviously you need to solve math problems. Like, it should be so extremely obvious. Like, I don't know what happened here, but it should be so obvious that to get better in game development, we need to actually do game development. We need to solve problems in game dev, because that's what game dev is. Game development is all about solving problems, so we need to solve problems. Like, that should be like common knowledge, but in game development, it's not. There's so many people that struggle with just watching tutorials, watching YouTube videos, watching these YouTubers. Maybe they follow along and it feels productive because they're following along. But in reality, you're not solving problems, which is game development. You're just, as I said before, you get this full sense of productivity, so your brain becomes happy. But in reality, you don't learn anything. So please avoid this mistake. It should be common knowledge that you should build just as soon as possible. And stop watching these stupid tutorials once you know like the basics. Game dev is not any different from learning math, cooking, painting. Just do the thing. That's it. Game dev is not an exception for like the game dev is not like the entire exception in the entire world about how to learn something. Game dev is just like these other things. As soon as you get the fundamental knowledge to start experimenting, then you should do it. Even if you think it's like very little, just experiment with the things you know. Chances are you know like how to make a variable, how to print something, how to like spawn a game object, add physics. Just do these experiments. Like, basically, if you don't know how to code yet, it can be like very simple. It can be like to print a variable, and then you can just experiment with different components or things in your game engine. Doesn't need to be like advanced coding experiments. Just something simple. Get familiar with coding. The goal here is just to start small and just start building momentum. Start getting into this routine of building. Maybe you're lucky and you haven't even started game yet, so you haven't fallen for this trap. Or maybe you've already wasted some hours watching tutorials. Then we just need to get into this momentum of constantly building things and actually improving. Because 1 minute of struggling on an experiment or a prototype you're making, that's 10 times better than watching a tutorial. 1 minute of struggling on an experiment is literally worth 10 minutes of watching a tutorial. Then you can compound that to an entire month. Imagine you get 10 times the productivity for an entire month. That's what building is. It's going to skyrocket your learning and your progress by 10 times, seriously. And it's just very important, like I'm not going to talk more about like building things. It's just very important that you need to like be conscious that the things you're experimenting with should be hard. Should use your brain. You should like want to like quit and do something else. Or maybe you like hard things, but for the majority of us, we want to procrastinate when things are hard. We want to look at the phone, like, do other things. You should basically want to do these things. It should be hard. But just force yourself to stick to it, get through it, just experiment with the things that you said you would. Try to find the solution yourself. Use your brain. Should be hard. And don't seek like external resources immediately. You can do it if it's something that you've never done before and you think it's like one step above what you know already. Then yeah, sure, go seek some external resources. Or if there's like a problem that you haven't been able to solve for maybe like 30 minutes, then okay, go on to Google, search for the thing, like the specific thing. Don't search for like the entire solution, but search for the like specific thing that you struggle with. And you're going to learn so much faster that way. So I'm not going to talk more about that now, I promise. I think you get my point. There is one last point that I want to make in this video, and it's going to be the most important one. It's going to be the most important point for the entire video. But first, if you are a beginner and you want the simplest path to release your first game in only 60 days without feeling overwhelmed, then you can click the first link in the description and you'll get a step-by-step framework on how to release your first game within only 60 days with personal help from me. This is going to be a guarantee. Personal help from me. And if you join today, within 60 days, 2 months from now, you will have a finished and released game, even if you are a complete beginner. So click the first link in the description and I'll go to my next point now. So my next point is basically, this is extremely important. Don't be a perfectionist. You can't set the bar too high for when you should start experimenting. The bar should be basically like the floor is here. The floor is here basically. The bar should basically be here. You should start experimenting as soon as possible, immediately when you know the basics. Because experimenting, that's how you learn. You don't learn by watching tutorials, so don't think that, well, I'm just going to watch like this 5-hour tutorial and I'm going to be done. No, don't do that. You learn by experimenting, so why not just do it as quickly as possible so you learn as quickly as possible? Why not do that? Don't set the bar too high. Learn the very basics like variables, functions, install the engine, all these things, right? And then experiment immediately. And this is something that I personally struggle with. I have taken like a personality test and I'm 90% perfectionist. So you can imagine that this is something that I've struggled with a lot in my game development journey. So I'm obviously the right person to talk about this. What I did was I just watched tutorials and I had this thought that I'm not good enough yet to make my game. I'm just going to learn more. I just need to learn more. And I was having these even limiting beliefs that I couldn't learn game development because I didn't see any progress. I didn't build anything and I didn't learn due to I was just watching tutorials. I didn't build. So I didn't see any visual progress. I didn't build any momentum like I'm preaching to you now. I didn't build any of these things. So I didn't see any visual results. And that just made me want to quit game development. I had limiting beliefs that I could even do this. But in reality, it was just of both watching tutorials as well as being a perfectionist. So for me, who had both, it was just a mess. Obviously, I had limiting beliefs when I was in this situation. But the truth is, in game development, you can't be a perfectionist. Even when you start making games, there's so many different things that you can work on. You could tweak the UI for 2 days. You could like change the button colors in your entire game if you have like a bigger game. For, like multiple hours, you could perfect the button colors. You could do all these different things. But are they really going to give you any results? Are they really going to be more important than improving core features, implementing core features, making the core game loop fun? No, it's not. The core game loop should be your priority, but you could do tens of thousands of other small tweaks, small polishes, but you can't. You need to be content with things being just good enough. Just good enough, get it done with, continue to the next important thing. Just make it exist first, then you can make it good later if you have time, whatever. You can't be a perfectionist in game dev. We need to stop overthinking and just do the things that benefits us the most. And for learning, that's going to be struggling with an issue. No matter how small the issue is, no matter how simple a common knowledge you might think it is, even how small it is, you should just struggle with it. And that's how you learn. So that's everything I had on my heart for today. If you want to learn more from my mistakes personally and join a growing community of indie game developers just like in your position, then you can click the first link in the description and you won't regret joining, I promise you.